Hello, I'm Sade and welcome back to my channel. I'm doing this video because several people have asked me about my med school application timeline and I kept receipts, so I felt like I might as well just share it. If you hear walking noises, it's really just Ace roaming about. He needs a haircut, I know. We'll start with when I submitted my AMCAS application, when it was processed, and go through what schools I applied to and what happened with those schools. When was my application processed? When did I submit it, okay? I submitted my application on June 2nd, 2022, and it was processed on June 19th, 2022. My application was ready in May. I just didn't submit it then. I think the earlier the better. Like, the earliest you can get to application, the better it's gonna serve you. What schools did I apply to? That's a great question. So I actually applied to 21 schools and Ace. I applied to 21 schools, but 22 programs. It took me a while to develop my school list. Like, it changed a lot. How I listed my schools was I looked at their median MCAT, median GPA, their research ranking, primary care ranking, if I needed to take Casper, which I really didn't want to take, if it was public or private, how much it cost, and like how diverse the school was. I was not really trying to go to school that was not diverse. As far as where did I apply to, so I applied to NYU, UChicago, Duke, UNC, Rutgers, Mount Sinai, Kaiser Permanente, Emory, Georgetown, UF, Albert Einstein, WashU, Case Western, the UP and CP program, Wake Forest, George Washington, Miami, Drexel, Loyola Chicago, ECU, Hackensack, and Northwestern. I might do a video on my AMCAS application. I haven't decided yet. I was marked as an NCU resident. My family lives there. Definitely applied to North Carolina schools. I also was born in Miami. I went to school in Miami. I graduated from the University of Miami. So I had to apply to University of Miami. I loved my undergrad experience. I think I mentioned this on this channel, but I definitely think it played a massive role in me accepted into med school, and my entire med school application process. They were so supportive of me. So I knew I wanted to apply there. As far as other places, it was location. I am a city person. Hey, stop it. I loved Chicago, so of course I applied to different schools in Chicago. I also thought they were just amazing med schools, and they really cared about the underserved populations in Chicago, and that was big for me. I wanted to go to school that had access to that. So I really thought a lot also about what opportunities these schools would provide me with, and if it matched what my goals were. Okay, so WashU, I almost went there for undergrad, so I was like, let me just see if God wants me there for med school maybe. George Washington and Georgetown, I liked DC, and I thought that's where I wanted to be. UF, like I said, I was in Florida at the time. And Kaiser Permanente was the one California school I would have attended if I got accepted to. Case Western. A year before I was looking to apply to med school, I randomly met someone from Case Western, and I guess maybe that's where it started, and I just looked up, what's Case Western about, and I found out about all the programs and stuff, but I know no other reason for why I decided to apply to a school in Cleveland other than meeting that person. Maybe that was God sent, I don't know. But moving on to secondaries, so I tried my best to, when I received a secondary, I had 2 weeks to complete it. The tough part about this was I had a whole internship at Eli Lilly this summer, and so I was working an 8 to 5, and then I was coming back and I had to work on these applications, and I was so drained and tired, but I had to push through, of course. So I got it out, but the whole 2-week thing, I did my best. I did my absolute best with that, and then I gave the rest to God, okay? So I will tell you when I received my applications and when I submitted them, because I actually wrote it down, of course, because I have it in my Google Excel sheet of the school name. Maybe I'll insert it here. The school name, when I received it, when I submitted it, how many essays, and then their due date, so that 2-week deadline, and then how much they cost, and when I was marked complete. And then I also had a note for what the secondary portals, the links were. Just keep everything organized. And a big part of my med school application was having Romans 8:31. Like, that was my verse that whole year. Romans 8:31. What can I say to these things? If God is for you, who can be against you? And that it was just like, I kept thinking about that verse. Anytime I opened up this Google sheet, I thought about that, because I just felt like, I shall not fear, because God is with me throughout this whole process. I don't need to be discouraged, because if he's with me, like, no one can be against me, and whatever is for me is going to be for me. And so I think it's important to just keep your faith in the center of this whole long journey, because it is not easy, and you should pat yourself on the back for every win. So as far as when I actually received these applications, I'll break it up. Like, I'm not going to say every single day because there's so many dates. There's 21 different dates here, but let's break it up by week. The first week of my secondaries, I got Icon, Mount Sinai, Albert Einstein, U Chicago, NYU, Northwestern, Kaiser Permanente, Emory, and WashU. I received all those secondaries from June 24th to July 1st, and then I submitted them from July 9th to July 15th. And I will say, this first set, I submitted them on time because I did pre-write some of my essays, and I tried to do that for every school. That was not the case. The next set was from July 8th all the way to July 14th, and that was Case Western, UNC, Duke, Georgetown, George Washington, Wake Forest, Loyola Chicago, Rutgers, Miami, Drexel, ECU, and UF. And I submitted them from July 18th to July 28th. So that was for that set. And then my last secondary, which I didn't get till months later. At this point, I didn't know. I was like, maybe I should withdraw. Like, what's going on? I got my last secondary August 1st from Hackensack, and then I submitted it by August 20th. In total, how much all these secondaries cost me was $1,800. Well, $1,803, and that was just for the secondaries. How much these primaries cost me? Primaries were $1,030. Together, that was $2,833. That's how much it costs for just 21 schools. And people apply to much more now. So this whole med school application process is not cheap. Moving on to what you've all came here for. What you've been waiting for, if you have still been listening to me up until this point. You want to know what the timeline was for these acceptances, these wait lists, these rejections, and I'm here to give it to you. I had 3 pre-interview rejections, and I will say I felt like this NYU one was pretty early. I'm not totally surprised because NYU was incredibly difficult to get into. Shout out to anyone who got in there. That's an amazing school. Also Emory, I was a little surprised about that one. I thought that they would like my application, but yeah, it's okay. And then Loyola Chicago. It is like no love lost. All right, moving into the timeline for my interviews. Woo! So my first interview, which I didn't even know was my first interview, was Cleveland Clinic, Lerner College of Medicine, of course, CCLCM. I got the interview invite on August 12th, and I interviewed on September 8th, and I was accepted in December of 2022. I don't know the date. I actually didn't write the date for any of these, but I do remember it was the end of December. I think after Christmas. I was so excited. I went to my family. They were so excited for me. I was like just crying. It was, I don't know about crying, but it was really amazing, and I was just so blessed and highly favored to receive that acceptance. And then after December, I was like chilling. But anyway, this is not like a surprise. Like, this isn't like a reveal, because if you watched any of my other videos, like, you know what school I chose. But let's just continue on. Look at God, though. Look at God. My high school was George Washington. I got my interview invite on August 18th, and I interviewed on October 11th, which is a little late. I wasn't sure why I couldn't find the earlier interview time, but you know, it was fine, and I was waitlisted. I don't know if this is an early or late waitlist, but I just know I was waitlisted. And then Case Western, this isn't, so CCLCM is part of Case Western, but it's like the college program. This was the university program. I got the university program invite on August 26th. They're separate like admissions committees. So I got theirs on August 26th. I interviewed on September 22nd, and I was waitlisted, which I was waitlisted late too. Like I remember this was like 2023 that I got waitlisted. I was a bit shocked because I got into CCLCM but not UP, and I was like, because CCLCM only was 32 students, but UP has like over 100, I think there's like 170 students, so I was a little shocked by that one, but I knew I would have rather gone into CCLCM than the university program, so like no low loss there either, all up to both sides. My next one was UChicago. I got it on September 2nd. I interviewed like the next week or not that long after, on September 13th. And I was waitlisted. I was a bit hurt about that one, I will say, because I love UChicago. I love that they serve underserved populations and they just like really care. Being a diverse school, and they just have a commitment to diversity. And I knew I wanted that in a med school, and I loved like the possibility of being in Chicago for med school. So I was a little hurt about that one. I didn't find out about this waitlist until the following year, so 2023, like later on in the cycle. So I think by that time I figured it was a wait list, but I didn't know for sure until like I would say like March maybe. Moving on, the next one was Georgetown. I got an interview invite on September 6th, right? Yep. I interviewed on October 18th and I was accepted. I loved Georgetown. I even loved Georgetown during undergrad. I only applied to like 5 schools during undergrad, and Georgetown is one of them. And I loved my visit to Georgetown. I loved just like DC in general. So I was a big fan of this acceptance. My next interview invite was on September 12th, and then I interviewed November 15th, which I thought was a bit late, but that was fine. And I was accepted to Albert Einstein. And I love this too. My sister goes to Fordham, and this was like right there. Like whenever we visited, I literally went by Albert Einstein on the way to her school. I love this school too, and I was so happy that I got accepted there and really excited. Oh, them for not being tuition free. They wouldn't have changed my choice, honestly, because I truly do love CCLCM. But I will say, them going tuition free, like that is a blessing, and I'm so happy for all those students. Drexel is my next one. I got an interview invite September 16th. I interviewed on October 20th, and I was deferred, which I was deferred mighty early. Like, I don't know when I got the deferral. I'm pretty sure I got the deferral in 2022. He doesn't like that either. My next one was Kaiser Permanente. I got an interview invite on September 19th. I did the interview on September 27th, so like literally the next week. And this is my only post-interview rejection. I will say that I was not shocked by this because Permanente was an MMI format interview, and I wouldn't say I was fully prepared for that experience. So no, it's okay. It wasn't in God's will, and that's fine. Next one was the University of Florida. I received my interview invite on September 21st. I interviewed on October 14th, and this is my first acceptance. Shout out to UF, man. Y'all made me know I was gonna be a doctor, and I will never forget UF for doing that. Wake Forest, I got an interview invite on September 30th. I interviewed October 26th, and I was waitlisted. ECU was my next one. I got my interview invite on October 12th, and I interviewed October 25th, and I was waitlisted. Next one was WashU, my almost undergrad. I got my interview invite on October 21st, and then I did my interview on November 21st, and I was waitlisted. I was a little hurt about this one because I didn't go there for undergrad, and I was like, maybe it's not the Lord's timing, and maybe I'm just gonna go there for med school, and that wasn't the case. And that's all right, but I was a little hurt about that one, not gonna lie. Next is University of Miami. I got my interview invite on October 26th. I interviewed on November 14th, and I was accepted. Go Canes! University of Miami is a great place to be, a great place to live, and it's beautiful. Like, I do miss sometimes the palm trees, beach views, and shout out to my undergrad. Never forget where I came from. The next one was Rutgers. Received it on October 27th, and then I interviewed on November 10th, and I was accepted to Rutgers. Rutgers definitely gave home, took care of everyone. Loved that experience. Next was Northwestern. I got my interview invite on November 15th. I interviewed on December 6th, and I was waitlisted. You know, and at this point, I was like, you know, I thought I was gonna be Chicago girly, and I just realized that God didn't want me there at that point, and that's okay. Next was Hackensack. I got my interview invite on November 17th. Then I did my interview on December 1st, and I was actually waitlisted, and then a couple days later, I was accepted. It was a very, very different process. I didn't know what was going on, but I did get accepted there. Our next one was Duke. I got my interview invite November 29th. I was very excited about Duke. Duke was definitely one of the top schools I was interested in because, like I said, I'm from NC, and Duke and UNC. Obviously, I grew up a Tar Heel fan, but I had a lot of respect for Duke and their academics and like just prestige in general as an institution. So I was very excited when I got the interview invite. And I interviewed on December 12th, and I was accepted. I found this out definitely in 2023, early 2023, I think, maybe in February of 2023. I was ecstatic. So my next interview invite was just on December 9th, and it was from UNC. And I scheduled the interview for February 7th. And I actually declined the interview because I think at this point it was going to be my last interview, and I knew I wasn't going to choose UNC over CCLCM at that point, so I just declined it. My very last school is Mount Sinai. I got my interview invite on December 21st. I interviewed January 6th, and I wrote deferred here because they did defer my decision. You know, I got waitlisted. I don't know what time I got waitlisted. I'm assuming it's probably in March because I got a lot of waitlists at once. That is all these schools. I can put up my acceptances here all around me. And I would say I had a very successful cycle. I was really blessed to get all the acceptances I did get. Even like the waitlist, and after turning some of these waitlists into acceptances, I didn't like also fight to get off the waitlist. I didn't email, I didn't like send updates or anything that would like kind of, which I would encourage people, if you are on the waitlist, you should be doing, like you should be like emailing them, giving them updates, possibly giving like a letter of intent or like letter of interest. I wasn't doing those things trying to get off the waitlist because, like I said, like I had already gotten my big acceptance from a school that I didn't think I was going to accept it to, and that was CCLCM. So I wasn't really trying to fight for these other schools' attention, and I just let it go. So I think I withdrew all of my waitlist first day of decision day. I think that's May 1st. So yeah, like I withdrew, set my decision to enroll at CCLCM like May 1st. I remember I was just like really excited and very excited about my decision and moving forward. This is my story. This is my med school application timeline. Give me one second. I do attend Cleveland Clinic Learning College of Medicine. That is where I decided to go. I'm blessed and highly favored, and thank you for sticking around this entire video and seeing my entire med school application timeline. I know this was nothing short, and I know if you're experiencing this or you're going through this, that is a very long and enduring journey. And I would just encourage you to keep the faith, know that God is with you, and also to know that you're gonna get through, because this was so long for me. But now on the other side of it, it was just like, wow, like I actually went through all that, and now I'm here. I'm almost at the end of my first year of med school. I'm gonna be in M2 in a few months. It's just crazy to think about it, how time really does fly. But I remember in the thick of it, it was not flying at all. So I just want to encourage you to keep it up, keep going. If you want to be a doctor, and don't forget it. That is a wrap to the end of this video. Thank you all for watching. I know Ace is roaming around in the background. Hope you were able to ignore him. Now he's being shy all of a sudden. He needs Erica, I know. But we're gonna say bye right here. Say bye. See you next time.